Okay, can everybody hear me okay? Hopefully.
Oh, you sound great.
Thank you, Meredith.
You sound great.
Okay. So thank you, Meredith, for that introduction and a little bit of a layout of the history of how the Division of Natural Resources, Forestry, Fire, and State Lands has really helped us out. So like Meredith mentioned, it's a city-to-stream project, and I kind of want to lay things out here. We have a few different nodes throughout the city that really attract people. Let's see here. A quick overview of the project. We wanted to link the river and the pathway system that we have to our central business district. Most notably, historic 25th Street. It's a big draw to people. There's a lot of independent restaurants and other activities right in the downtown core. We wanted this link to be not just walkable and drivable, but rideable for cyclists. We wanted it to be inviting. Stormwater collection and filtration was important to us, and something that the city is always looking to improve upon. In doing so, we wanted to increase the habitat for wildlife in the urban center and make it safe for both pedestrians, motorists, and cyclists. We also wanted to provide an educational component that, in linking the downtown area to the river, would keep people engaged and provide information on our urban forest, on the stormwater filtration and collection, and the history of the downtown area, and keep them engaged while they're traveling in between. We also wanted to soften hardscapes. As I'm sure everybody knows, central business district can get quite overwhelming with concrete and asphalt. We wanted to soften that and decrease our non-permeable surface in that area. So our assets that we have in the city, as we talked, there are approximately 90, I'll lay this out a little bit later, but 97 independent restaurants. It's a big draw. Car shows, we have movie nights at the amphitheater downtown. We have the Tour of Utah every year comes through, the Ogden Marathon. I feel in the roughly decade that I've been in the Ogden area, I've seen Ogden become a much more vibrant downtown center with a lot going on. The river, if you've had an opportunity to come to Ogden and walk or ride the Parkway Trail, beginning at the mouth of Ogden Canyon, all the way to Riverdale where it follows the Weber River, there are a lot of people out. And we'll talk about some of those assets that we have. And the in-between, this has been the area that we've really wanted to enhance with the Grant Avenue Green Street, the promenade. We wanted to really build that area up to where more people will be flowing in between. So our assets along the river, beginning with the Parkway Trail, we have roughly about 6 miles of paved path on the Ogden River from the mouth of the canyon to the junction with the Weber River. Continuing on the river, on the Weber side, we have about 3 miles of paved path that extends to the southeast area to where it meets Riverdale. and their path continues on. We also have another mile of paved trail that we've been working on, recently installed, that links the Ogden River pathway to the Front Runner station that is next to Union Station. So that's a new section of trail that we've recently added in the past couple of years. Along this section of the Ogden, we have Big D Sports Park, which is a park that people come to exercise and run. We've recently installed a runners training camp, if you will, where there's 14 different stations for a runner to stop at and exercise. Now we have the Dinosaur Park that draws a lot of school groups and young children. The Ogden Botanical Center and USU Extension Service. It's a place where weddings occur, and the USU Extension has many classes that they teach, and there's a lot of opportunity and brings in quite a few people. We have a pool and skate park next to our rodeo grounds. Just west of there we have the High Adventure Park, which is directly ties into this project of the Grant Avenue Green Street. It lies at the junction of the river and Grant Avenue, and we've added two high adventure playgrounds that have become the busiest parks and playground that we have in town. The 21st Street Pond is also called the Good Ski Lake. It lies just to the west. The Good Ski Company does research and development and working with their water skis and using that pond, but the pathway extends around it, and a lot of good fishing opportunities there. Kayak Park on the Weber, and then as part of the river restoration, there was a wave installed as part of the restoration. We call it the Crystal Wave. That was after Crystal Young, who worked for the River Restoration Company out of Colorado that did the design work for the river restoration. So you can see we've got just a ton of stuff along, I mean, roughly a 6-mile area. It's just packed with opportunity for people to recreate, bird watch. Some of the things they do, they run, they bike, fish, swim. These are all things that you can imagine would be occurring along there. This is a picture in the center. Maybe I'll pull up my pointer here. This is the Crystal Wave, and a couple local kayakers using that. It is directly behind Walmart, which is at the junction of 20th Street and Wall Avenue. We have a fisherman here right in the downtown corridor of our river fishing here. As you can see, it's River Restoration Company and Ormond Construction did a great job to make that a blue ribbon section of river. This is a bridge here going across at Kiesel Avenue. All of our bridges were designed so that they were wide enough for numerous people to pass over at once. And this is a rendition of the new runners exercise facility at Big D Sports Park. So, in the city, I've mentioned some of these things already, so I'll just kind of go through them real quick. The Eccles Conference Center just lies off of Grant Avenue, in between Kiesel and Washington. It brings in a lot of trade shows and things that bring people to our city. We have Union Station and the Browning Museum. at Union Station and the Front Runner, which is a spot where people can check out some of John M. Browning's cars and his gun collection there, and then jump right on the connector trail and end up on the River Parkway. So the in-between part that we're really trying to enhance through the Grant Avenue Green Street Promenade is this section in between 18th Street extending south to 25th. Some of the things that the city has worked hard on, and other private companies, and you see a picture here in the corner of the LDS temple that was rededicated last year and lies directly adjacent to Grant Avenue, are becoming big draws for people to the area. In the Solomon Center and the Junction area, we have housed in there the Flow Rider, where you can come and surf. We have a theater. There's actually 2 climbing gyms on Grant Avenue, one at the Junction and one right on Grant Avenue and 20th. We also have Raptors Field, which is where the Ogden Raptors baseball team plays. iFly, you can practice your skydiving, gyms and restaurants. So you can see these are our 3 main nodes that we've concentrated on over the past number of years in revitalizing the area, and they are draws to people. And what we wanted to do through the project was really connect them and do so in a way that was aesthetically pleasing and, of course, met our goals that we had for the project. So here we in this slide we see down in the bottom right here, if I can get my pointer to work, on the bottom right hand corner we have you can see just last year, maybe a year and 4 months ago, this is what it looked like. It was just torn apart, basically from the ground up, rebuilt. Islands were installed to separate traffic from not only pedestrian traffic on the sidewalk, but from the bike lane that you see in this picture. The bottom left-hand side of the slide, we have a picture that is mid-block in one section of the project, in between 23rd and 22nd, actually 22nd and 21st, mid-block crossing. You'll see some bright green, looks like paint on the bike path. It's actually recycled glass and silica sand that provides traction and awareness in delineating the bike path where no hardscape exists to do that. Some more pictures of the project along much of the roughly 2.5 block section that we've completed so far. We had some somewhat mature trees on existing parking strips, and Big D Construction did a good job in meeting with us and identifying issues with working around the trees. And you can see a year later, this is the west side of the street. We had alternating bur oak and Norway maple planted for a block here, and they're doing quite well. 10-foot wide sidewalks. This center island here, they vary from anywhere from 10 and 11 feet wide to about 3.5. So there's quite a bit of variation in the width of the planting island that separates the roadway from the bike path. Here's a new sign that starts at the north end of the promenade at the junction with the River Parkway. And it's been kind of a nice addition to our Parkway trail, and done tastefully, I think.
Monty, I had a question about the separated bike lane and kind of what was the impetus behind that? How well received has it been? Initially looking at it, I think, well, the trees might do better in a super big park strip, but dividing that bike lane seems like a really safe option, maybe better for some air quality. What was Ogden's kind of justification for designing it that way?
Yeah, this we didn't have a lot of room really to deal with in between the existing curbs. Historically, Grant Avenue was one way, and that is the plan in the future to go back to one way. And then it will be one way and one block to the west, where Lincoln Avenue will be one way also back the other way. As far as having enough room to plant large trees, there were a lot of there was a lot of discussion that went on in between engineering and, of course, urban forestry and stormwater. And really in fitting everything that we needed to get in there, we had to go with some quite narrow islands in some cases. So what we did in those cases was we spec'd trees that were, actually pretty much all of the trees along this area are columnar. And our thought was that in the islands we would have columnar trees that would allow for passage of vehicular traffic without impeding that, and still having quite large parking strips on both sides of approximately 10 feet, where we have bur oak and Norway maple and some lacebark elm planted. And so hopefully providing enough room along those parking strips to have large trees, and then more of a narrow upright tree that would not impede with traffic in the islands. As far as how well it's been received, I guess it depends on on who you talk to. We have had a number of people, cuss and swear because they think the road is too narrow. But for the most part, I think from feedback that I've received, it has been quite good. It really aesthetically, as you see in this overhead here, there is a lot going on there, but I think it's quite pleasing to the eye. And there are some chicanes here that poke out at the crosswalk right here that serve to slow traffic. Of course, the trees in the islands, as we know, have that same calming effect on traffic. And it's just, we want to make it a more inviting and walkable, rideable space. So I think overall it's been good. So I'll get into a little bit more on the stormwater issues, but here, this project really, and the grant monies that we have received from the division, really have been the impetus for future projects and connection. It's caused a lot of excitement, I think, around this project, and it's at the forefront of people's minds, and I think it's really leading to more and more projects in the future that will serve to better many of these blighted areas in our downtown. it's also built strong partnerships. It has been amazing the number of people that have really come out of the woodwork and the organizations, and I'll go over that here in a minute. And I think I probably only have maybe a third of the partners that we've had the chance to work with on this, and the community involvement. Each of these planting islands are a bioswale, and a little bit later on there's a slide that will kind of show that, but they act as stormwater filtration. There are drain tiles that are installed vertically. Some of them are similar to a French drain that will just take the water that comes in off the street and take it deeper and let it disperse and filter that way. So, Meredith, I hope I answered your questions there, but okay.
Yeah, you're
so
great.
Here are some of the partners that we worked with. Of course, with the Division of Natural Resources and Forestry, Fire and State Lands, and the Forest Service in providing some of this money for the plantings and the interpretive signage and the weed management along the river. Ogden Trails has been very instrumental in the parkway portion. River restoration, of course. Let me find my pointer. River restoration, of course, out of Colorado, they have provided all the design work for the river restoration portion. Trout's Unlimited. A lot of these schools, Venture Academy designed, the children designed interpretive signage for the pathway. Both the Da Vinci Academy and Ogden Prep have locations directly along Grant Avenue. Our Adopt a River program came out of this, and we have roughly 15 sections that are adopted and are visited monthly for trash pickup and cleanup. We have also gained just come July 1st, we gained a couple new full-time positions that are dedicated to island cleanup. So we have some islands on Washington and elsewhere in the city, and then of course here along Grant Avenue. So some of our challenges. It's been part of a very large, multifaceted project. Numerous players. Last year in particular, we had very tight deadlines with limited access along this corridor. The temple, the LDS Church, was feverishly working with their contractor, Big D, to finish the revamping of that temple that sits adjacent to Grant Avenue, and much of it we couldn't get to at times and had to schedule, and it was a challenge, but they were very accommodating. So that was one of our challenges. Of course, communication, I think, in any project like this is paramount, but it's also one of the toughest things as it goes from contractor to subcontractor to down the line. On our end in urban forestry, we had limited manpower. We were pulled in numerous directions with the open house, and that was a challenge. Future maintenance was one that was on my mind constantly. So I'm very pleased that the council adopted our budget with a few new employees to help with that. Vandalism, as you can see in the pointer, or in the photo here. I don't know how other cities are, but Ogden, this is a constant battle. So, but more than the challenges, really we want to focus on successes going forward. Here is one of the interpretive signs that have come out of the project. We have numerous more in the planning stage right now. I'll show you a few of them. and we are going to line Grant Avenue with signs similar to these that identify the trees along that corridor. This is at the High Adventure Park that is on Grant Avenue and 18th, right at the north end of the Green Street Promenade project. And as you can see, there are quite a few people here. Here's one of the pieces of equipment that we've put in there that's a draw to the kids. We have artwork along this area, and then here's our Adopt a River program that has really taken off recently. Here are a few of the signs that are in. These are just proofs, but as you can see here that they cover things from wildlife in the urban area to the bioswale, rain gardens here. Excuse me. Sorry about that, guys. And then one of the trees that we have planted, the Armstrong maple, narrow upright maple. Here are two of the signs that the children from the Venture Academy have designed for us. Covering both fish and insect and plant life in the river. Some of the future projects that we have coming up that I think are probably further along because of this grant that we have received. One, most notably, is our desire to restore portions of the Weber River along that pathway. We also have here a new bathroom going in at the High Adventure Park, right at the north end. The connection trail, as I talked about before, and additional interpretive signs. We are working right now to contract with a third party for invasive weed management. We have been trying to do it in-house, and it has been a challenge, but we have a third party that we're contracting. And then we still have two more blocks, roughly 2.5 blocks, to connect us to 25th Street on the continuation of the promenade. This was a artist rendition from a older master plan that shows this section of river in between Washington and Wall. And Grant Avenue comes in right here. The Adventure Park is here, and this portion has been completed. And although this playground, we have two playgrounds in this spot and a new bathroom here, it has become the busiest park in our city. These sections of new development here are complete with Bingham Cyclery and Slackwater Pizza have been anchors here, and some sections of new condominiums and townhomes in these sections are complete. And we've been working with these private businesses to plant along here. And again, we have 10-foot wide parking strips here and some good room for some larger species. Here there is a proposed amphitheater in this section here, right along the river. We still have not acquired a piece of property here and here. but are in the works. And as part of this as part of the funding with Forestry, Fire, and State Lands, we are purchasing some large diameter trees to tie in the river restoration portion right here with this future park that's going to come online. So in summary, I think probably nearing my time here, but it has been thus far just great to see, from my perspective as an urban forester, people from our engineering department and streets and planning all come together, maybe not as smoothly as we would want all the time, but this project really has brought departments together with private business and volunteer groups to make this thing work. And our engineering department in particular, they call me all the time. And before, they were doing their thing and we were doing ours. And they call all the time now, and I think they have some excitement really about hardscape going in and being filled with trees. And so that's been a really great thing for me to see, and I'm sure it's a goal of everybody in urban forestry, and this project has really been great for that. I think we've shown that we can provide for safety and aesthetics simultaneously. Many times we have to make concessions and compromise, and we might not always get what we want, but there typically is some ground somewhere in the middle that we can find, that we can provide a safe road and pathway and trees to beautify and benefit the community. It just takes a little more work, and many times it's a headache, but it can be done. So also increasing the stormwater filtration. I don't know if I mentioned before, but we, in that 2.5 block section, we decreased our permeable surface by a little over 17%, which I think is it's a step in the right direction. It's provided a few challenges with snow plowing and things, but thus far the drainage system in July and May, we had a lot of rain, and we did not have standing water in that section. That bioswale area handled all the water that was thrown at it. Again, educating the citizenry, in this case through the interpretive signs. This has been something neat to see people stop and look at the signs, and stop a second in their busy day and look around and enjoy what we have, and learn. So, but the long-lasting partnerships, I think, overall are among the most important. It is the most important thing that we've gained through the project. Canopy goals and habitat and other more benefits of this. So this is the end of my presentation here. If we have some questions, we can see if we can address those.
Great, Monte. We do have some questions, and I'd just like to encourage the folks on participating to use Monte as a resource. Since he's been through all of this and he's got some lessons learned, feel free to type the questions in the chat pod, and we'll relay them. The first question I see here is, do you have any issues with the
we do have, this is a big issue. As I said, vandalism is a big issue in Ogden. The homeless problem is escalating. I think part of the restoration of the river opened things up. It might have pushed people out here and there, but it also provided some nice camp spots. Every week I go along and try to direct people on their way, but last week I had a group turn a pit bull on me, and it could have gotten quite ugly, so we have a policy where we turn it over to our police force. But it is a big problem, and not one that we have a grasp on. I don't know. Yeah.
Maybe we should do another webinar about how to
Right.
handle those,
I would
'cause
love
I know you guys are not
to
alone
hear what other
in
people
struggling with those
are
issues.
doing, but it is the city helped out with a new shelter, the Lantern House. It's quite a large shelter, and from what I hear, it's already full to capacity and turning people away. So I would welcome any help that we could get.
All right, great, thank you. And then we've got another question here from Hal about the parking strip trees. Do you use engineered soil for the boxes?
Yeah, there was not engineered soil used. There was some talk about that. Really, I think it was probably one of the things that got lost in the mix with the deadlines and things with the Temple open house. But so they are planted in a weed-free topsoil, but it wasn't engineered, and we did not use any biochar.
Yeah, and it's my understanding that that can add a significant cost to a project. So in cases where I've seen it, even if there's an interest, it's important to get those conversations going at the very beginning and put them into the specs to make sure that the contractors and everyone know the expectation.
So Meredith, also, on the biochar, really, the planning of this, we're going back. Really, there was even an initial plan before Forestry, Fire, and State Lands came in. It was a plan that had been kind of sitting there and been bounced around, and then this grant offered really a push in the right direction and got things going. But biochar really has just kind of recently been at the forefront in many of our minds, and it wasn't really a discussion before. So.
Right, of course. All right, we've got another question. How do you strike the balance between turf and trees?
Well, along this project, we don't have any sod, except for a spot the spots that were already there. So the new islands, there are no sod. But as far as policy goes in our urban forestry ordinance, we don't have any stipulations that a homeowner must provide a mulch ring around the tree. That's something we are actually redrafting a new ordinance as we speak, and we've been working on, and that's a good one that we will look into, but we don't have anything on that. We always do try to promote using less grass throughout the city. Our planning department has information that we've helped them with and that they distribute to anybody getting a permit on alternatives and xeriscape. We do have in that ordinance that a parking strip must be covered with 75% coverage of the bare soil with vegetation. So if they do a rock mulch or bark chips or things, they have to meet. They have to meet that either with trees or with plants that would meet that.
I did notice that in many of the, especially
Correct.
the
It's all mulch
interior
and plants.
tree corridors, it's just all mulch, correct?
There has
Is there
been
a maintenance challenge associated with that? And
we
the
have
bioswale system?
because of the the water from the street much of that runs into those bioswales. It brings a lot of seeds in there also. So that has, it's been a challenge, not as bad as I thought it would be, but it was also something that helped us get some new maintenance positions. So, but the mulch has been pretty good in there, and the weeds tend to, you can see where they sprout up. It's basically where there's a cutout in the curb for stormwater to run into the bioswale. We have concentration in those areas of weeds.
While we're talking about those bioswales, I did have another question about salts, and if you're anticipating any issues with salt.
We do. That was one thing.
A lot of the runoff
one of our
water.
challenges with communication with the contractor when it came down to planting time, there were a couple varieties of trees that I wasn't really excited about and had not signed off on. And so, like, we have some columnar tulip trees in there that I've just been quite worried about with salt. They are doing pretty well, actually, but of course we had a very light winter. We have worked with our street department and where they do the salting, and in this along this corridor, we are trying to use less than would typically be used on a street. One of the challenges with maintenance going forward of this this corridor is that it is a little more maintenance intensive. Of course, it looks nicer and it has many more benefits, but it is maintenance-wise, it's more intensive, and we are looking at some specialized equipment for snow removal along here to cut down on salt. We
Great,
do.
thank you. All right.
We have
Larry,
a compost facility where it is free for any resident to take their green waste. It's located at 1875 Monroe Boulevard, and you can truck in your green waste, and we compost it and sell it back in chips and compost. We also, when available, sell small rock chips that when the street department sweeps a newly chip-sealed street, the rocks that come off of that, we attempt to clean them and sell those back for gravel. We also sell firewood there also.
Great. All right, switching gears a little bit, going to your invasive weed
So
abatement.
what we are concentrating on is
along the stream restoration project.
Are the invasive species of trees, typically the Siberian and Siberian elm, Russian olive. Most of the tamarisk, we had little pockets here and there. Most of that we were able to remove during the implementation and construction of the restoration along the river. So, and same with the ailanthus along the river. We do have some green ash and silver maple growing volunteer along the river. We've chose not to focus so much on those, but any of the new elms coming up and Russian olive particularly. Yeah, so we are
All right, and then you said that there is going to be a
now
crew
for the river portion.
designated to doing
For
that
the
invasive-
street
oh, no, you're gonna
portion,
contract
we have a
the invasive
designated
species
crew
out. Is that what
that
you're
just
looking
came online July 1, and they will handle all of the islands, plantings, and weed abatement in the islands throughout the city.
It's great to see the city really taking ownership of the project and alleviating a lot of the stress on you and your team to continue the maintenance of all of this new infrastructure. Give it one more second to see if anybody else is typing. It looked like there were a few other folks maybe getting a question in here at the end. Monte, just from kind of a summaries and a perspective, do you feel like the work has really achieved what you were looking for as far as connecting the city to the tree resource? Do you have a way of monitoring that? Is it kind of word of mouth, or just kind of noticing people are stumbling upon the trail and using that corridor more because it exists and they're curious? Or, you know, how are you going to
Well, I think right now it's more word of mouth and people just coming up on it.
I guess drive support for
you know, we still
investment?
have we still have a couple more blocks that that really we need to finish before it becomes that true walkable and rideable corridor for people to make that connection. So I mean, as it sits right now, it's more just feedback that we've been getting. So.
Great. Yeah, we have a question here about the
I do
total cost
not.
for the project.
I do not have a total cost.
A number of different phases, but do you have kind of a round estimate?
Shoot. I do not. I apologize. It's been such a big. I mean,